Hello and welcome to another episode of the Unwanted Opinions podcast. Jay and I are back here continuing the top 40 NFL QBs. Today's episode will be number 15 through 11. We have done up from 40 to 16 throughout. So if you want to go check out any of those episodes, feel free to do so. When you do that, hit that subscribe button on Apple Podcasts. You can leave a rating, leave a review. Also check us out on Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Unwanted Opinions with Nick and Jay. Email us, unwantedopinionspodcast@gmail.com. Questions, comments, whatever, get after Jay and I, and we will talk to you guys. So maybe you'll get on the pod.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I feel like we've had a pretty good list so far. Our biggest discrepancy so far has been Sam Darnold. I have him at 30. You had him at 18?
19.
19? Outside of that, I feel like we've only been off a couple spots on most of the quarterbacks.
I guess you had Justin Fields at 20 and I had him at 28. So that was another pretty big jump right there. But yes, so far, Darnold is definitely where we disagree the most.
Okay, well, I started the last one. You start me at 15. Who do you got?
15, I've got Carson Wentz. I got Carson Wentz here at 15. He is the new quarterback for our Indianapolis Colts. Jay, as you can see, wrong corner. This corner over here.
You can see my wine bottle there.
I do see it.
Someone got me a bottle of wine for Colts. It was Rachel, and I told her we will pop that the next time the Colts win the Super Bowl. So
I'm in.
So whenever that happens, that'll be ready.
Well, if the Colts are in the Super Bowl, we'll definitely at least be watching it in the same household. For wherever it is, it will make that happen. So, all right. Anyways, Carson Wentz here at 15. Carson Wentz, I mean, really, there's not much to say that already hasn't been said about this guy's physical abilities. I mean, he's got the size, he's got the weight, he's got the arm, he's got the mobility. It's just, can he come back from the mental state that he's been in from last year? Because I think that was his biggest hinder on him last year. I think it was just everything. I think everything just got to him in Philly. The coaching, the GM, the fans, all of it. The pressure really got to him. And other than that, I just think he is one of the most talented quarterbacks in this league because he's got a huge arm. He's extremely mobile. I think he processes the game like any of the good quarterbacks in the league. The reason why, like I said, I've got him at 15 is because of that mental makeup. Because if he was fully sound mentally, I'd have him much higher up on this list. And if he has another great year under Frank Reich, he can move up this list because I just think he's purely that talented.
Okay. 15, I got Ryan Tannehill.
Okay.
I like what I've seen recently out of Ryan Tannehill. I definitely think he's a better quarterback now than he ever was in Miami. I just don't see anything that screams top 10. I think he's won them some games, but I think a lot of it has been because of the powerhouse he has behind him running the ball.
Yeah, that guy's pretty good.
So I think if you put him on other teams, he might not fare so well, but I think he's proven that he just really, to me, doesn't have bad games. He just doesn't always have 350-yard games. But I think he consistently knows where to go with the ball. He can run your offense to perfection. He is a system quarterback, but I think basically 2/3 of the NFL are system quarterbacks. But I think he's one that you put him in the system and he can run it to perfection and always, very rarely make mistakes. He's not going to go out and win you a bunch of games, but he's also not going to go out and lose you very many either. He can just it's going to sound the same for a lot of, like I said, these 20 through 16.
This to me, when we just did these past two lists of 5, this was really hard. 20 through 11 was really hard.
But someone to compare him to the guy who I had right above him, Matt Ryan, he can run. He still has some wheels on him. He's a former college receiver. He can still get out of the pocket and make plays and throw on the run like some of the other guys can't do. And I have turned into a Ryan Tannehill fan, and I like the way he plays. You loved him coming out of college.
I did. It was the receiver turned quarterback aspect because that was my story, obviously, definitely nowhere near the success.
Yeah. But he's had a lot of different offensive play callers, a lot of different coaches, and he just consistently seems to get better and better every year. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to put him in the second half of the quarterbacks because I think he's earned it, and I think it shows on the field that he can produce and he can play with the best of them on certain occasions. He does need a lot of things in order, just like a lot of the guys we've been talking about. But I like Ryan Tannehill. I like what he can do. I think he has a big arm. I think he has a lot of zip to the ball when he has to get it in a short space in a quick amount of time right after the snap. I think he's average at best at making checks at the line of scrimmage, which is why he's not up in the top 10 for me. But I just think all around he's a very good quarterback. And 15 to me sounded like the right place to put him. And I'm going to guess you don't have him much higher than I do.
He's in this list of 5.
Yeah.
So, we're getting down to we kind of know who is in the list because we're running out of who's left in the league.
And I know who the top guys are.
Yeah, for sure. We just don't know where they're slotted particularly. So I've got Joe Burrow here at 14. I love what I've seen out of. I've been a Joe Burrow fan since his first year at LSU. Jay, you were the guy.
You started. I was confused. I was like, "Why'd you go to 14?" But you started with 15. That's my bad.
I did.
That's
I started with 15. Jay, I'll give you props because you got me on Joe Burrow. You enlightened me to him at LSU, and I became a fan. I'm still
pissed Ohio State let him go.
Yeah, I mean, he had arguably one of the greatest college football seasons in history. So, I mean, just from then, I've just been a fan of Joe Burrow. I love the way he carries himself because we just talked about Derek Carr in the previous episode where I think his ego and his moxie, it gets a negative way. I think it's reverse for Joe Burrow because I think he carries himself in a way where it's not like douchey to where I think that's almost what Derek Carr does. Joe Burrow has just like a very likable personality and he's confident in that way where it gets everybody else confident and wants to play with you. And on top of that, I mean, he's got a fantastic arm. I think he actually has a really, really good arm. I think he throws a great deep ball. I think he's extremely accurate, and he's got it up here in the head. I mean, he's got all the tools, Joe Burrow does. So I would, if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, we talked about Big Ben a few episodes ago, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals finish higher in that division than the Steelers do because Joe Burrow's got it.
He does. I agree with you. Clear, you haven't seen him on my list yet, and
no, we have not.
So
I can't imagine he's too much further.
We'll see.
Higher, I should say.
My 14 is Trevor Lawrence. You hinted at we hadn't seen him yet. I know you said I couldn't, when you were talking about Trevor Lawrence, you're like, I couldn't justify putting him any higher than this. I think you had him right around 20.
I have him right at 20.
Okay. So you couldn't justify putting him any higher. The reason I can, it's not that high. I mean, he was a number 1 overall pick. He's been.
No, I don't think it's crazy. I don't.
He's been, I mean, the guy since he stepped on foot at Clemson. Everyone knew he was going to be the number 1 pick. All he did was win there. He can make every single throw. He looked fantastic at Clemson. Like you said, I think he lost 2 or 3 games his entire college career.
Yeah, his record starting was just incredible.
And I don't justify as being too, or I justify it by not being too high because it's still, I'm saying there's 13 other guys in the league that are better than him, and all 13 other guys weren't number 1 picks. You've seen guys come in and have instant success, a la Andrew Luck, who comes into a 1-2-14
2-14 squad,
and the very next year he has the Colts at 11-5 and should have been rookie of the year, and had everything, instantly a top 10 quarterback in his first year. So it can happen. And I don't even have him in the top 10. I have him at 14. So I think he will instantly step into the Jaguars and be a top half quarterback in the league for every reason why everyone's thought that up to this point. So I like Trevor Lawrence.
Like I said, I don't hate it. I really don't. Mine was more of just, like I said, the rookie just being in me. Yeah, I mean, he's got all the tools. He's got everything. And like I said, you talked about Fields in 2 years. If he's in that top 10 list, I wouldn't be surprised. even with Lawrence, if say what he does similar, he doesn't have to win as much as Andrew Luck. If he just does things, or Russell Wilson, or takes the Jags to 8-8, I mean, he's going to move up the list dramatically just because that roster's not that good.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah. All right, 13, I've got Dak Prescott, and
I have Dak at 13 as well.
13. All right, well, then we'll both just touch on Dak. I actually just saw today, this has nothing to do with this, but I just saw today where I think he was trending on Twitter, him and Matthew Stafford, because Dominic Foxworth went on Get Up and said that Dak Prescott was a substantially better quarterback than Matthew Stafford, and I just do not agree with that at all. I mean, I think Dak has shown over the course of his career that he needs a lot to go his way to be successful in this league. And that's not me taking anything away, because obviously I've got him at the 13th best quarterback in the league. But when people are saying he's like a top 5 guy, I just don't buy that, because yeah, he puts up a lot of numbers, but I think a lot of them have been proven to be garbage time stats. And I don't want to sound like I'm bashing him, because like I said, he's at 13. I think he's a very good quarterback. He's mobile. He's smart. Again, I like the way he carries himself. I think he's had an underrated arm, actually, and he's gotten more accurate over the course of his career. So I really do like Dak Prescott. It's just now we're really splitting hairs on these guys, and it's like you're almost trying to find what is wrong to justify where you have them on your list. Why do you have them at 13, Jay?
I think if you're a Cowboys fan, you should actually be happy I have him at 13, because up until this year, I kind of was, you could consider a Dak hater, because I always said
we were both in the same boat about Dak.
I always said that he will be the epitome of an average quarterback. He will be no better than a top 15 quarterback in the league. And here I have him at 13. A lot of the reasons being, I saw what that Dallas offense was without him last year. And they definitely took a step back without Dak as a starting quarterback. Do I think they would have went 12-4 with Dak? No, I don't. But I definitely think last year proved how valuable Dak was to that offense. And I do think a lot of his, 450-yard passing games are because they're down in the second half, and they're just throwing the ball all over the field, trying to play catch up. But he does make a lot of plays, but he kind of falls in – we are nitpicking now. He kind of falls into that same category. We talked about Kirk Cousins earlier, that just if I need him to go out there and make a play at the end of the game, I don't know if he can do it. He's proven he can do it for sure. Down. But he could let me down, exactly. But a lot of these guys up in the top 15, 13, you're going to see they have the element of being able to run. And that's, again – you have to take that into consideration, because if all things were equal, I'm going to take a guy that can move if given the opportunity, rather than somebody who can't and just has to play from the pocket. But I think he has a bigger arm than people give him credit for. He has a bigger arm than I thought he would coming out of college.
Yep.
He's proven to be pretty accurate with the ball, and he does not turn the ball over a lot. And you had to take that into consideration, that they're just going to hold on to the ball for you and not turn it over, a la Daniel Jones, who I love his raw talent, but he cannot hold on to the ball for me. So I think Dak is better than I thought going into this past season, but I still don't think he can just put a team on his back and carry him. I still think he does.
No, I don't either.
Need the surrounding talent. And we'll see this year, because I know he's coming off an injury, but they have a ton of guys on that offense at the skill positions.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely argue that they're one of the most talented offensive units in the league.
I agree. So we'll see.
They're pretty good.
We'll see what happens after this year. But as a Cowboy fan, you should be happy to have him at 13.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, because he's definitely improved. He's definitely moved up where I thought he ever could be, just like as you mentioned. Like before, I think last year we did this similarly, and he was around 20-ish or something right around there is hovering. So he's definitely up this list, and rightfully so. At 12, I've got Baker. You had him at 17. I've got Baker at 12. And you talked about how that first year he came in was kind of almost like lightning in a bottle, where then in year 2 they had such high expectations, and it was such a letdown for Baker in year 2. And then year 3 rolls around. I just think he was more confident in the offense. I think he was more confident in his abilities. I think he realized that, no, I can't run around like it's the Big 12 and I'm going to outrun defensive ends. I think he finally realized that. He's an extremely accurate passer. I mean, he's got tremendous accuracy. He doesn't have the greatest deep ball, but I think he's got a good enough arm to do it. And again, I think he's a very smart player. And just because I think he's realized what he is. And I've got him at 12 because, again, he's just a guy that is proven to win. I mean, I think, what were they, 11-5 last year? I think they exceeded expectations for a lot of people based off of the year 2. And he's just a guy that I want on my team. I think he's a good leader as well. So I got Baker at 12. I really like what I've seen from him because I was kind of a doubter after coming into the league. I thought the Browns made a mistake picking him at number 1, but I think that's definitely been justified.
It surprises me that you have him higher than me as well. Well, I mean, I'm not going to be mad about it. Obviously, I like Baker. At 12 for me, here's where Carson Wentz comes in.
Okay.
The only downfall I have on the guy is he going to be able to go back to where he was mentally in Philadelphia? And I'm betting on early in Philadelphia. I'm betting on the fact that he will, because I think everything I read and listen to and his interviews, it seems to me that he's so driven to prove Philadelphia wrong that he is going to spend every waking moment.
I don't think it's not only Philadelphia, it's everybody.
Exactly. Everyone who's written him off at this point.
Yeah.
The reason he's at 12 for me is you can't question what he can do physically with the ball.
Absolutely.
Just straight up athletic traits and arm and accuracy on the run, just making chicken salad out of chicken shit, out of just like plays out of nothing. He's one of the best in the league when fully healthy and in the right mindset. So all the, like, kind of like you said earlier about him, the only thing that's holding him back is he all there mentally? And I am banking on that he is, because of everything where I'm seeing the Colts players are coming out. I know that no Colts player is probably going to come out and bash him, even if they didn't like what they've seen so far. Yeah. But they also wouldn't go above and beyond praising him like they are if it was a flat out lie. I mean, they're saying that they don't understand what they were talking about in Philadelphia with him being a bad teammate. He's done nothing but reach out to them and try and be helpful and be there for everybody.
I really wonder who said that about him in Philly, because there was a ton of guys that came out publicly and had his back.
Yeah.
Like Zach Ertz and Jason Kelce and Jason Peters. And I don't know if it was just solely Alshon Jeffrey, because that's who it was kind of singled out to be, was Alshon, and then he leaked it to the right people and then it became a thing. But yeah, I mean, I've seen this exact same things too, where it's like, we love this guy. Like, I don't know what they saw in Philly or what it was. And he didn't get along with Doug Peterson.
I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
And even though they fired Doug Peterson, they still, I mean, I think the bridge was just too far burned to be able to bring Wentz back. I think if they could do it over and they were going to fire Doug Peterson anyway, they would have fired him and kept Wentz and done everything to make him happy. But hindsight's always 20/20. Yeah. So,
and it's probably best
really
for him to get a fresh start.
He's about to have a bounce back year.
I do too.
And you're about to see what he can do with the ball again. So I have him at 12. Who is your 11?
Ryan Tannehill. So a guy you started out this episode with it at 15. I've got Tannehill at 11. I've always liked Tannehill a little bit more than you, because in a lot of the things you said, I agree with, but a lot of it was he just wasn't healthy a lot in his first few years into the league, and that really, I think, hindered his confidence, his ability, because, I mean, when Tennessee traded for him, was trading for a backup. They weren't trading for a starter.
They were Mariota.
Yeah, they were trading for a guy, hoping he could beat out Mariota, and he didn't even beat out Mariota in the first offseason, and now that probably was more so they were really hoping that Mariota was going to be their guy, because they spent such a high pick on him and traded a ton of picks for him. But yeah, I mean, Tannehill, I've always loved his mobility. He's got great toughness. He's a guy who's not scared to take on a 260-pound linebacker, which obviously it come over time. That's definitely a fault. But
yeah,
I just think he's really just turned into such a better passer from going to Tennessee. I just think, I don't know if it's more so the opening in the offense, but I just think he's got a better deep ball. He's more accurate with the ball. And then I just think it also took him a little bit more time of playing the position and learning the position of quarterback and being able to read the defense and do those things, because I think he does that at such a high level now than what he used to. No, he's not in that elite category where he's doing 7 checks at the line of scrimmage, but he's definitely improved from where he was when he first came into the league at that point.
I gotcha. When you were talking about, being able to take on he was super tough and being able to take on a 260-pound linebacker, I didn't know if you were talking about my number 11 and Joe Burrow. That's why I have Joe Burrow there too, because you were talking about him having the opposite effect of Derek Carr with his coolness and just people wanting to be around him. I also think it helps him because I think he does everything and his teammates know that he would do anything for them.
Okay.
And he will do anything on the football field to get them a win, whether he has to turn around and hand the ball off 35 times because that's what's winning the ball game. I don't think he has that big of an ego. I think he is the guy who will do whatever it takes to win a football game and be happy with the outcome as long as they win. I think he's uber competitive. I think he can make every throw in the league. I think he's like, I put him at number 11 because he's knocking on the door of the top 10 in the NFL after one season. I think his deep ball is fantastic. I think he will make any receiver on that team better instantly. I think he is a franchise quarterback that we're starting to get into that echelon of quarterbacks that they're the franchise guys that they can lead a team, not be a game manager.
He's definitely the guy.
Yeah. And I think he could be the guy in almost any system in the league. I think he was the number 1 pick for a reason. I love everything about Joe Burrow. He's a coach's son. He's super smart. He is old. I mean, his competitiveness is very reminiscent of Tom Brady's on the field, where he will bark at his offensive players, but they understand that it's coming out of because he sees something that
it's coming from a good place.
Exactly.
And it's not coming from a demeaning, just like diminishing his guys. He's trying to lift them.
And I think he will be higher on this list very, very soon. I think he's going to be one of the future quarterbacks, one of the future faces of the league. Now, he's coming off a big injury, but I think he's so driven that you're not even going to be able to tell he was hurt last year. I don't think 1 ounce of him is going to be scared.
Everything I've seen is he's a full go and he's ready.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think there's going to be 1 ounce of him that's scared to get hurt again next year. And I don't think he's going to be the type of player where
he's thinking about it and worried about it. He's that type of guy that is going to try and prove everybody wrong because of it.
Yep.
And people are maybe doubting him because of this injury. But we had 4 of these 5 quarterbacks in here. The only difference was Baker I had in here and you had Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. And I had him right outside. I had
So I believe that we have the same top 10 guys. We just obviously don't know where they fall. But I'm 99% sure we have the same top 10.
I had a feeling we would. I mean,
you kind of get to that point, you know who the 10 best guys are in the league.
Well, we did this. I told you, I think the easiest part was how I did it was I did an elite category, which I only had 4 guys in. And then I did a rest of the top 10. So I had my top 10 quarterbacks would have been the next 6. That was the easiest part of the list for me to come up with. And then I did the worst. Yeah. And then I had to really play filling out the middle section and moving guys around.
But I think the top 5 was actually the easiest part of the entire list.
Oh, agreed. 100%.
Yeah. 6 through 10 was a little bit more challenging just to where to slot these guys. And then, like you said, I really do think 11 through 20 was the most difficult through this list. Kind of that middle of the pack of are they elite? Are they not? Are they right on the cusp of being elite? That's where it just really got tricky right there. But
I agree with you. But that's
I would love for the listeners to try and do this list as well. And if you've got a list, you can send them to Jay and I. Yeah. Email it to us.
Because you might be sitting here like, how the hell do you have Jimmy G at 19 where he was one play away from winning the Super Bowl. But then it's like, okay, sit down and make your list and think about all things considered. And it might surprise you where that guy ends up, or it might surprise you who came in at 26 because you think he's a good quarterback. But then you're like, well, damn, I got 25 other guys that I think are better. So it's really hard to make this list. I mean, it took me a while to sit down, and I moved guys around I had three different lists because I had a list 1 through 40, and then I was like, I don't like this guy here. So I had to scratch out, make another list, move him up 3 spots because I couldn't just flip-flop 2 guys. And I don't know. I finally landed on this list. So
yeah, I did too. I actually started doing this exercise with NBA players as well.
Did you?
And I was actually going to tell you to start doing it because it was going to be something that I wanted to do in a later episode where we do like the top 40 NBA guys. So,
I could do that. That would definitely take me more time.
Yeah, I'm still working on the list. I've had a few drafts, but we'll save for another day. So
I could definitely.
Let's get out of here on that one, Jay.
All right. Until next time.
Until next time.